Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I got Delilah back in the house. Gonna put some work in on this car today. This car gets me excited. Alright, you know me first. We gotta take care of this. So, stay tuned. Let me just get this thing cleaned up. We'll put the camera back on it and I'll go over the work that I'm going to be doing on this car this weekend. Alright, be right back. Much better. Now that she's cleaned up, let's have a walk around. I always end up doing this when I get a car, just so I know what came in, make sure that I'm not the one putting any type of dents or scratches into the car. So this is courtesy of Mother's Carnauba spray wax. Man, does that look good. Looks nice, good stance. Yeah, this is a very clean example of a 1987 Buick Grand National. And if you followed before when I was putting the engine back into this car, this is a very stout combination that is in here, and today I'm here to do some more upgrades on Dave's car. Original paint, low kilometer vehicle. When I get it up on the lift, you have to see the floors on this car. Super, super clean. That's not me. I see that one. Little door dent, but all good. And there we have it. Dave, she's all cleaned again, brother. And here is the lineup. This is my go-to. I love this spray wax. But anyway, getting on to what we're doing here. We have a mass air and a MAF translator to put on. We have an AEM air-fuel ratio gauge to install. We have a drive shaft loop. Dave's crafty list. We have a rear strut bar because I'm putting in the rear end that came out of my car in Dave's car, and we are going to be putting in QA1 coilovers, the springs, the brackets. This is the conversion part for the brake that's on the body of the car for disc brakes, because my rear end has Wilwood disc brakes on there. Yeah, so, oh, and there's also, I have to change out the sensor for the temperature gauge to get that reading accurately. So there is the lineup. We're going to attack this one by one. I think I'm going to start with the rear end first and get everything all done. So give me a second, let me get this thing on the lift. Or wait a minute. Let me pop the hood and see the glory. That's what we need to do first. Dave, if this thing is as dusty as the outside of the car, buddy, I'm coming after you. And here we go. This thing makes me giddy. This is still my desktop picture on my computer at work. Just beautiful. I mean, really. Look at that. Look at that. Well thought out, well put together. This thing should run deep in the nines. Ricketts Racing approved. Simply awesome. Okay, let me get this thing on the lift and let's take a look at the undercarriage and start getting at this rear end. Alright, now that it's on the lift, let's have a look under here. See what we're working with. Stock rear end, airbags, adjustable uppers, got aftermarket lowers, and looks like the ATR sway bar, the bigger, thicker sway bar at the back. Looks like an ATR exhaust. As you can see, this car's like a time capsule underneath. If I ever had my way to put my hands on this thing and scrub down the floor and paint this thing would be an absolute gem. Just look at that. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Still got the factory front sway bar in it. Just a beaut. Total gem. Alright, enough gawking. It's time for me to get to work. See what we can do about getting this other rear end in here and getting this one out. Yeah, this is going to be very nice. Catch you in a bit. Okay, I got the wheels off and the whole brake assembly is off because you had to get at the emergency brake cable that comes into here. So what I have done is I have just tucked this cable up into that area right there. So if he wants to return to an emergency brake cable, that option is always available because nothing has been damaged or altered, and the other side is over here, tucked up in there. So everything came off pretty good. I've already zipped out all the bolts, so everything is loose right now. And I've taken off the line here, so I'm keeping everything that's on the rear end all intact. Like this brake line, I have the braided one that was on mine, so all of this is going to stay with this rear end. My rear end is complete with all of the same with the braided brake line for here that I will marry back up to that fitting up top right there. As you can see, look at the fitting. Like, this thing is cherry. Came off very easy. I put on some penetrating oil, let it soak for about half hour before I got at these things. So all the bolts are off here, which you can see over here. The control arm, the lower, which is here. This one's off. The uppers, you can see, they're off. So I basically got this thing ready to zip out the bolts. I'm going to get a table, put it underneath the rear end, support it, and then get this rear end out of the car in a moment. Well, there we have it. Sway bar, springs, airbags, shocks, and all the lines for the airbags. The rear end is out. And let's check underneath. Like I'm saying, this thing is just cherry. Anyways, that's what we're working with. Let's line up the other one and get this into the car and take it from there. Back in a bit. It almost makes it seem like this is easy. Just snap my fingers, click, all of a sudden it's out. Nice. And the old one is on the skid. Buddy, I tell you, I'm gonna have to go to the Schuldeis clinic after this one. Good thing I go to the gym, buddy. Deadlift. Just to pick it up off the ground and stick it in this stupid thing. Take mine off of there. Put it right there. Let's go. Let's go. All right, let's get at it. Okay, now that we got the rear end in, looking thicker than a Snicker, it's time to put some time into these coilovers. These things are like a damn Rubik's Cube, so many moving parts. And then you have to use anti-seize, and you have to lubricate the whole shaft so these things that lock on there don't get stripped. But finally, these are all attached and put back together. This stuff is so messy. You use this anti-seize stuff and you put it on your hands and you start rolling this thing down the shaft, and it's, man, levels of frustration. But that is done. It's time to get this in the car and see how these brackets work. Man, do they ever have their share of brackets and bolts. Good Lord. See, that's what comes with the... Make sure you put the anti-seize lubricant on. So that's why all of that was done. All right, let me get back at it. Well, I got the rear end all buttoned up. Coilovers are on. Put the wheels on. Got the UMI strut bar up top there. That's on. Still have to bleed the brakes. I gotta get a wrench for these things because the car's sitting too low, so I have to raise this thing up at least 1.5 inches. So now, taking the thing off here for the brakes. I got the new one that I will be using now for the disc brakes in the back. This is the factory one. So I'll be putting this on and taking off all the wheels again, and I will be bleeding all 4 corners. Boy, this thing is just letting loose. Well, I can promise you this oil's never been changed, this brake oil, so I'm gonna put this on, call it a night. Tomorrow I'm gonna get some fresh brake fluid, bleed all 4 corners, get this drive shaft out. I've already loosened it off. Put the new one on, and then start working on the stuff on the engine. Alright, give me a minute, I'm gonna put this on. Alright, the portioning valve is now installed. That's the new one for disc brakes. I gotta do all 4 corners, bleed them. Gotta get some fluid, gotta do that tomorrow. Now that's in, so the whole setup is pretty much done. Now let's go to that table and see what's left. And as we see, there's not very much. Drive shaft loop, mass air, and the translator, the AM air fuel gauge, and I also forgot to see this one, Scan Master G, with this little sensor for the coolant temp. So that's it. Table's pretty much cleared up. This stuff is all the remaining boxes. Here are the drums. Driver's side, passenger side. These cannot go back on with that UMI bar, so we're going to have to figure out something at the back to support the tailpipe. And this no longer uses the factory shifter, so I'm going to leave this here. And we're pretty much done. I'm going to stick a fork in it tonight. I am done. I've been here since morning and hungry and tired. Alright guys, till tomorrow. Alright, the old one is out. This is the new one from UMI. Really nice. Shiny. Okay, let's get this one up in here and see how it goes. Alright, the drive shaft is in and the drive shaft loop is installed. What I always do to make sure that I've tightened something is I always put liquid paper on the head of the bolt. There. All the ones on here. The control arm. These two on the Metco lower control arms. Side. There. Up top. Side here. Side here. These two. Top one. This one. And that one. So that's everything for the suspension. Now let's get this thing down, take off the tires, bleed the brakes, and just like that we are done. New mass air is in, translator's hooked up. Look at that. Rear end is in. I bled the brakes. Gauges are in. Good to go. Good to go. All right, people. See you in the next one.